My debut novel, The Quiet, is now available to pre-order. There are links in the description and there'll be more info at the end.
I would see art not as opposed to nature, but certainly as a means of introducing us to nature, of which we are part. Art certainly is essentially a human activity, but it can move from being a selfish human activity to being what I would call a human activity which is fluent with nature.
Ask most people about monochrome paintings or music where nothing happens, and they'll probably say that they're pretentious and meaningless. They'll wonder why they should pay attention to something that they could have done themselves, or that can be performed, as with John Cage's musical silence, by someone with no skill or talent. There have been many essays, articles and videos about the reasons why Cage wrote 273 seconds of nothing. And most people have concluded that, like the white paintings of Malevich or Rauschenberg, 4 minutes 33 asks the audience to do most of the work. With all representation and content removed, the listener has to find their own way through the piece, to find something of themselves in the silence. So maybe the answer as to why Cage's musical silence is famous and yours isn't, is because he got there first. There is an element of truth to this. Tracey Emin wasn't the first person to make a messy bed, but she was the first person to present it as art. But Cage is doing more than shocking his audience. In fact, he's not trying to shock us at all. He's trying to take us into his art, to remove himself as much as possible, and to make his music fluent with nature. 4 minutes 33 was written by Cage in response to the lack of progress made in the world of music. He'd spent decades looking at the birth of radical new directions in art, photography and architecture, abstract expressionism, minimalism, Dadaism, the Bauhaus movement, and had been reading the philosophical writings of people like Laszlo Moholy-Naghy and Henri Bergson. Looking at Moholy-Nagy's writing on modern art from 1928, we can see the ideas that would lead to Cage creating 4 minutes 33 some 20 years later. For Moholy-Naghy, the end point of modern art was also to become fluent with nature, but for him, this would be achieved by a literal reflectivity. These actual reflections and mirroring bring the surroundings into the picture. The surface becomes part of the atmosphere, of the atmospheric background. It sucks up light phenomena outside itself, a vivid contrast to the classical conception of the picture, the illusion of an open window. You can see this vision of modern art realised in something like Marcel Duchamp's The Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelors, even the large glass, finished in 1923. It's made from 2 vast pieces of shattered glass, with the bride in the top panel and the 9 bachelors underneath. Cage commented on his experience seeing this work. Looking at the large glass, the thing that I like so much is that I can focus my attention wherever I wish. It helps me to blur the distinction between art and life, and produces a kind of silence in the work itself. There is nothing in it that requires me to look in one place or another, or in fact requires me to look at all. I can look through it, to the world beyond. But what is the extreme point of this reflectivity? Completely transparent sculptures? Just glass? A mirror so that the viewer can see themselves? Or maybe a completely white painting? Robert Rauschenberg's white paintings from 1951 were not the first all-white pieces of art. Kazimir Malevich's White on White predates it by over 30 years, but the white paintings are the ones that had a lasting influence on Cage and that led to the creation of 4 minutes 33. In 1961, Cage wrote a lecture on Rauschenberg in which he famously referred to the white paintings as airports for the lights, shadows and particles. Instead of bringing nature in by using glass or mirrors, as Moholy-Naghy suggested, maybe art could physically take in the world around it, a blank surface on which anything could collect. The white paintings caught whatever fell on them, as Cage wrote, dust, particles, skin cells, light or even shadows. Having made the empty canvases, a canvas is never empty, Rauschenberg became the giver of gifts. In 1920, Man Ray captured this idea by taking a long exposure photo of Duchamp's large glass after it had been displayed in New York for a year, which he called dust breeding. The arrangement of clumps of dust viewed through an almost microscopic lens turns Duchamp's work into something new. An almost alien landscape, a lost city of particles and air. Man Ray's photo showed us that the large glass wasn't a fixed thing. It had changed, taken on nature, become an airport, a place where things and people come and go over time, for dust and light. So if art can imitate nature, what about music? This is what was on Cage's mind in 1952 when he wrote 4 minutes 33. Unlike what people think, it is not a piece of silence, far from it. As soon as he removed the expectation of musical sound, the listener becomes acutely aware of every other sound in the room. People moving in their seats, the sound of wind, rain, the hum of electrical equipment, a person coughing, the thump of your heart, or the high-pitched ring of your nervous system, something Cage experienced himself whilst in an anechoic chamber in 1951. The piece imitates nature by becoming nature, by capturing the natural sounds that make up our environment and that come from our bodies. But like Duchamp or Rauschenberg's art, 4 minutes 33 is never the same twice. It's different in different rooms, different parts of the world, and with different people listening, each of whom bring their own past lives to the work. Like the all-white paintings, 4 minutes 33 is changed by everything in the environment, by everything that falls upon it. It is not destroyed by the noise. It is the noise.
For me, the basic musical experience is the absence of music. I mean to say that wherever anyone is, if he simply listens to ambient sounds, disorganized as they are in his environment, not moving in a linear fashion from one sound to another, but coming from the total space around one wherever he is, this experience of sound that is available to everyone is for me the basic music, which I simply interrupt when I put sounds into it.
Thank you so much for watching. As you saw from the intro, my debut novel, The Quiet, is now available to pre-order. So this book follows the story of Hannah and her son Isaac, and they live in a world where an enormous spherical field called the sound field has covered the Earth. This field produces a constant background hum and has also accelerated climate change, leading to a massive refugee crisis from the southern hemisphere to the north, and meaning people need to sleep during the day and work at night. The Quiet will be released in the UK and the US in May 2025, and you can now pre-order using the links in the description. Take a look at my website as well for more information about the story. Pre-ordering is really the best way to help out me as an author, as it contributes to first week sales, meaning I'm more likely to get on those elusive bestseller lists. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.